I think it's time for everyone to admit that we miss having Kamaru Usman as champion. And that's something I never thought I was going to say because I personally found him really annoying. And I have a bit more respect for him recently from taking the Khamzat Chimaev fight of that. So my opinion on him has changed a bit. But I overall wasn't really a big fan of him. His title reign was very enjoyable, just fun. He got good knockouts, had good fights, just overall. But I don't think we appreciated enough. We definitely didn't appreciate it enough because when Leon Edwards head kick KO'd him, I was not happy that Kamaru Usman got KO'd. Like, I wasn't like one of the people that were like figuring out because they just really hated him. I was just like, wow, Leon Edwards did it. He came back, did all that. He had a real Rocky moment. That's why I was happy. And then I was like, wow, that's like an end of an era because as long as I had been an MMA fan at that point, Kamaru Usman had always been the champion. Because around when I started fully watching MMA, or started getting into watching MMA, was around UFC 257, which was when Conor McGregor came back. And then I was like, wow. And then it got me to watch it. And then the next event was UFC 258, him versus Gilbert Burns. So I kind of at least knew of him. And then, you know, from there, Jorge Masvidal, Colby Covington in the rematch, all that. But we kind of took for granted how active this guy was and just what he did for like that division of he just fought. He didn't hold up to division. In fact, he was starting to lap it even. And yeah, there were some guys who were coming up like Bilal Muhammad. Vicente Luque, I remember, was in the top 5 at one point, which is kind of crazy to think about now. But we just kind of took it for granted because since Leon Edwards won the title back last year near, I believe, November, actually. I'm pretty sure it was in November. He's only fought one time compared to Kamaru Usman, who in 2021 fought 3 times. And yes, he only fought one time in 2022. Yeah, well, he was coming off a hand surgery, so I don't know what Leon Edwards' excuse was. And I've been really annoyed by Leon Edwards because he has no personality but like thinks he does. I feel like he thinks that he's some big like superstar. And, like, yeah, you were in the spotlight because you beat Kamaru Usman by head kick. Very flush head kick. It was all those things. You had a great quote. But he's literally only known for saying pound for pound, headshot, dead. And that's literally the only thing he says. And it's gone really annoying. And then he beats Kamaru Usman the second time. And then they're announcing that Colby Covington was going to be the next person to fight him, which, me included, a lot of people were very much against it because he was on a 1-fight win streak. He last fought in, I believe, was it that year? I don't know. It was in 2022 was when he had fought. So he hadn't fought quite some time against Jorge Masvidal, who's on a 2-fight losing streak. So not a warranted title shot. And his last win that he had other than that was Tyron Woodley. So I understood that he was against that as a title fight. But he decided, like, I'm saying no to that when he is a champion that's only had one defense, is not a star outside of maybe England. And even then, I wouldn't hold my breath saying that he's a superstar there. And he tried to fight it, and now we've had to wait. Back in March is when he fought Kamaru Usman the second time. And this fight could have happened in June. That's when they were talking about, like, June. It's going to be the last pay-per-view of the year in December. So, like, inactivity. This guy's always been inactive. And, yes, he's been very unlucky with fights being canceled. I remember he was going to fight Khamzat Chimaev. He was going to fight. He just would normally only have, like, one fight a year. And it wasn't all his fault. But there was just a lot of that. And as champion, I think we kind of didn't understand. Because we had a lot of active champions at that point. Because we had, who was it? We had Israel Adesanya, who, I don't like Israel Adesanya. I think he's a freaking weirdo with the dog situation, but he was super active, at least with that, which, granted, they weren't exciting fights, but the division still felt like it was moving, so I at least can give him some respect there for that. Kamaru Usman, he was lapping the division, and yeah, he was talking about, because he was going to skip 180, because Israel was champion then, to go up to 205 and fight Jan Blachowicz, which I was like, that's not going to happen. But he was entertaining the idea. But he was still fighting at welterweight. And here comes my main thing that I was going to say that has really annoyed me. And this will carry on to a main thing, but I'm following it with Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards wants to move up to middleweight after his fight with Colby Covington to fight the winner of Sean Strickland versus Dricus du Plessis. Brother, you are not in any position to be having in a super fight. One, I don't know why so many champions, because Sean O'Malley's doing, I'm going to say Sean O'Malley as well was talking about that, and it's even more annoying for him probably, because he wants to fight Gervonta Davis in boxing. You will get knocked out, Sean O'Malley, and he wants to go up and fight at featherweight, and this was the thing that annoyed me. He doesn't want to fight at featherweight if it's Volkanovski. He wants to fight if it's Ilia Topuria, because that's probably an easier win. And I'm like, okay, so you're scared. Like, that's not a... Okay, I don't get it, because, like, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going for the super fight. It's going to be, like, a payday. And it's like, that's not how it works. Yes, you'll get paid more. But, like, the only reason Conor McGregor and Eddie Alvarez got paid so much was because Conor McGregor was the world's biggest fucking athlete, like, star-wise that we had ever seen, besides maybe Muhammad Ali. And, like, some other, like, obviously, like, LeBron James, all these guys. But, like, in combat sports, the second most famous athlete in it. So, yes, they're going to get paid crazy. Leon Edwards, nobody knew who you were before Nate Diaz. Like, yeah, maybe some hardcores knew you. Yeah, you were known as the guy who accidentally eye-poked Bilal Muhammad. Just not really well known at all. And then your only real big wins right now of, like, you get disputed as if you're the best active welterweight, because, I don't know, I feel like there's people that are better than you right now and that would beat you. Because your only major wins are, and the first one I'm going to say, I have to stress major very loosely. Nate Diaz, which, yeah, you were dominating that fight. It was a 5-round fight. You almost got knocked out in round 5, and if Nate Diaz wasn't CTE ridden, he might have actually started throwing more punches to try to finish you. That's the first major win off the top of my head I can think of. And then he wasn't even ranked in that. You were ranked, like, top 5. I think you were number 5 in the division. And then you beat Kamaru Usman after, like, a year layoff or something, because you were going to wait out for a title, which I kind of get because you were on the second longest win streak, but, like, against who? Because other than Kamaru Usman, and I'll say that, Kamaru Usman twice, you have no other ranked wins in the division. And sorry, this is just making me mad, because I don't get where a lot of these fighters are getting, like, this idea of, like, you're just going to hold up the division, and for a lot of these guys, it's unknown whether they're the best in the division, because, as I said, he only has one defense against Kamaru Usman on, not, like, short notice, but, like, a quick turnaround for Kamaru Usman after getting KO'd from that, because it was in March. But other than that, now you're going to fight Colby Covington, who, yeah, he's in there, and if you beat him, that'll definitely give you a better argument, but there's still Bilal Muhammad. There's Shavkat Rakhmonov. And he's also, and this was the other part that was pissing me off, was he's like, there's no fights that interest me there. And I'm like, okay, that's not really your choice to make right now, because one, middleweight has a slew of new people for a fight, and it's actually finally interesting somewhat, because you got Sean Strickland, you got Dricus du Plessis, you got Khamzat Chimaev, you got Jared Cannonier, you got all these guys coming up, and it's interesting. You got Israel Adesanya might get a win, hopefully soon. He might get a rematch on that. There's so many people there. For you to just try to waltz in there, it's one, you're not going to get paid as much as you think you are, because you are not a star. And this is the other thing that's pissing me off, is I really hate super fights, I'm going to be honest, because obviously when Conor McGregor did it, it was major because no one had ever done it before. But the other thing was I know he hadn't defended his title, so it's a very bad thing I'm trying to say that, but he beat Jose Aldo. He was, like, demanding a fight with Jose Aldo, who nobody would want to fight. That man was a absolute beast. He was a boogeyman of that division, to put it lightly, and he KOs him in 13 seconds. And then, yes, it kind of got muddied a bit with the Nate Diaz, I guess 2 fights, I was going to say trilogy, but no, they haven't had their third fight, where he loses, then wins again at welterweight, so it was like he should defend the title. And then he fights Eddie Alvarez, who had just been Rafael dos Anjos, who was pretty good at that point, and then they fight. It wasn't, like, earned or anything, but there was something special about it, because at Madison Square Garden, they were like, can Conor McGregor do it? Can he do it? Because other than Chad Mendes, who was on short notice, wrestler-wise, Eddie Alvarez is probably the best one he fought. I know Eddie Alvarez is mostly like a brawler kind of boxer, but he does have a wrestling background, and he certainly could have taken him down from, like, the perspective there. That's what made it special. I'm trying to think of all the like, super fights I've gone on. Daniel Cormier, I know he got head kick KO'd by John Jones, and I think he fought Ozdemir after that. I'm pretty sure, or he might have just... I'm pretty sure, yeah, he fought Ozdemir after that. So he was 3 defenses in. He was clearly other than John Jones, he was the second best guy in there. And John Jones, failed PED, so he's wasn't in the conversation. So technically Daniel was the best fighter in the light heavyweight division. And he had done numerous stuff. Alexander Gustafsson, Anthony Johnson, Volkan Ozdemir. There are probably other guys in the division he could have fought. But he moves up to fight Stipe Miocic, who is the greatest heavyweight of all time in the UFC, at least. Most consecutive defenses. He had defended his belt 3 times, even against Francis Ngannou, who obviously would come later on become a champion. In that, these two were clearly the best in their division and were ahead of it. So the division had time to kind of rebuild itself. They could afford to wait. But then they fight, and that was an actual super fight. I think that was probably one of the more legitimate ones. The other one I think, and I know people clown on women's MMA, but Amanda Nunes versus Chris Cyborg, because those two were clearly the best in it, because Chris Cyborg hadn't lost in so long. Amanda Nunes was on this tear, had been, at least, from the top of my head, 3 champions, almost back-to-back. Miesha Tate, Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, just all of them were in it. And they fight. And obviously that one was a really good super fight because they actually were the best of their era in that. I would throw in, at least Volkanovski had earned his shot because he defended his belt 4 times. Yeah, because it was Max Holloway. He beats Max Holloway twice, once for a title, second time in the rematch. He then beats Brian Ortega in a really fun fight. A fight of the year in Canada. It was amazing to watch. The Korean Zombie, and then Max Holloway for a 3rd time in even more amazing fashion. Just to earn a title shot. And I don't think he even was talking about moving up to lightweight before the 3rd Max Holloway fight. And he had Islam, who, yes, this would have been his first defense, but he just beat Charles Oliveira in that. So, while maybe for Islam, but for Volkanovski, he earned that shot in that. So, that one, I would say, was pretty legit for that. I know Henry Cejudo beat TJ Dillashaw flyweight, but then he moves up to fight for the vacant title. I'm like, you only defended your belt once. You hadn't even gotten a rematch with Demetrius Johnson, or for the trilogy of that. You guys were 1-1. Then you fight Marlon Moraes, who, yes, he was on a tear then. He was a horrifying fighter in that division. But really, that one was probably one of the weaker ones. And then you had Israel Adesanya, who I know he's probably he's definitely the second best middleweight in the UFC. But at that time, he only had 2 defenses. And one of them was probably one of the worst fights I've ever seen that I sadly actually watched for some reason, because I was like, how bad is it? Of him versus Yoel Romero, where there's an argument that he lost that fight. That's not good. And then he had, obviously, the dominant performance against Paul Costa. And then he's like, okay, we're going to move up and you're going to fight Jan Blachowicz, who had just won the title. That one was a pretty weak title fight, and then it just didn't make sense. So most of these super fights don't actually feel like super fights anymore. And there's a difference when it's fighters where Volkanovski was running out of contenders, so he was going to test himself and go up to lightweight. He had defended his belt 4 times before he got to fight for the lightweight title. Sean O'Malley, Leon Edwards, Islam was even talking about moving up to welterweight at one point. I remember that. I don't know how legit those claims were, but they were 1 defense, 0 defense for Sean O'Malley. He just won the title. He's now fighting Marlon Vera, who's number 5 in the division, I think. And I know the other contenders can't really fight. But you get my point that it's pointless because there's not as legitimate to me as defending your title, being the best in your division. Because, I hold 2 belts simultaneously. Okay, just that Conor McGregor era thing definitely caused more damage. But I miss Kamaru Usman, and I never thought I was going to say that because Leon Edwards has been horrible for the welterweight division because, I'm going to be honest, sometimes I forget he's champion because that's how forgettable he is. And he's just so inactive. He's complaining about all those things. He was even complaining about meritocracy of I've earned my title shot, so I should be able to fight for the title. Okay, well, now you're saying none of these fights in the division feel that important to you or excite you. Bilal Muhammad's on a crazy win streak. Yeah, I know he's boring as fuck and has one of the worst personalities I've ever seen as well, but meritocracy, he should earn the title shot. If Shawkat beats Stephen Thompson, he's in a position to fight for the title. He's on a win streak with that. He's undefeated. He's finished everyone he's fought. Is meritocracy. So you got that. You got all these people in there for that, and you're basically being a hypocrite about it. But yeah, no, I just kind of needed to rant about this because it's been annoying me recently with Sean O'Malley, Islam, now Leon Edwards, and I already didn't really like Leon Edwards because he's just been insufferable recently, and made the welterweight division go from like probably one of the best ones to feeling like one of the worst ones right now. And it has to stem with a lot from him. And I know a lot of the division had been inactive, but you got guys like Jack Della Maddalena. He's on the come up. Does that not excite you? He just beat Kevin Holland. He's been going crazy. He had a huge string of knockouts in a row, a submission. He's doing good, and he's on the rise. You got a bunch of these guys that are coming up. Ian Gary's on the rise as well. Like, none of these guys interest you. Do you just want to get out there? Like, you aren't that guy, Leon. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, you're not that guy. So, defend your belt, because that will give you more legacy. I know you want to be the first, double champ from the UK. Yeah, well, there's a lot of people who want to be the first double champ from whatever country they're from. Well, that doesn't matter as much as having the most defenses. Because right now, you don't have much of a legacy other than I KO'd Kamaru Usman and then beat him in a decision with that, which is a good legacy to have right now as you are a champion, a defending champion. Not a lot of people get to do that. But you can be so much more. But you're so forgettable. Oh my God, it just annoys me right now, and I hate the state of these champions. That's why I have appreciation for Volkanovski, for Israel Adesanya. I know he fought for the title with that, but then he went back, and he didn't win like 2 fights in a row and then go, I'm going to go up to light heavyweight. I don't think he really talked about it after losing. He's like, okay, I'm going to stay in my division, because he kind of realized he was undersized. Oh, yeah, Jamal Hill's even talking about it. He's not even the champion anymore. He's talking about, yeah, I might move up to fight Stipe, and it's like, or not Stipe, Aspinall, and I'm just like, shut up. God, it's so annoying, but yeah, I keep rambling and continuing saying the same thing, but yeah. Yeah, that's about it, but bye.